all win. Drake! Move 58! Go!
Welcome to episode 11 of the Predictors podcast, Health Matters, recorded on November 12th, 2024. As we head into week 11 of the NFL season, we're taking a closer look at the aftermath of week 10, from the standout moments to the tough injuries that shook things up. I'm your host, Jay Rock, and I'm joined by the dream team, orthopedic expert Dr. Preventure, the Patriots head surgeon who knows injury setbacks like no one else, the one and only GOAT Zajac, and our in-house prediction and production guru, Nate Dogg. Today we'll break down the key injuries from week 10 and discuss who's primed to rise to the occasion as we roll into week 11. But before we dive in, let's kick things off with the RodZone. Go! Welcome to the RodZone. Again, as you know, we got a lot of great hits for you today. Shout out to the Carolina Gamecocks once again getting a dub on the road. You love to see it. And also got to shout out Alabama for making LSU LSU. That's what you love to see from the CFB. And in the NFL, we got a week of locks. We had the Vikings, Chargers, Eagles, and Lions locked in, doing what they had to do. But the team that was supposed to be a lock but ended up being a drop was the Falcons. Can I actually blame the whole entire Falcons team? Not necessarily Koo. You know I'm looking at you. I need you to do better behind that kick and just let it rip. Kickers can lose games, but they can also win games. And that's a shout out to Jake Bates, ladies and gentlemen, quickly becoming a household name, burying a 52 and a 58-yard field goal to beat the Texans. Chiefs fans, not my favorite people on the planet, but you guys get to rejoice again, undefeated after blocking a game-winning field goal for the Broncos. Heading on over to Baltimore, we got Lamar going into the second half against the Bengals with only 71 yards passing, but he ended up with his career-high pass of 84 yards and a second win against the Bengals at the end of that game. The Dolphins got a much-needed win against the Rams. Tyreek Hill finally getting himself back on the scoreboard after week 1, and ironically, Quincy Williams' hit on Kyler Murray is exactly what the Cardinals did to the Jets. I'm talking a head-knocking, brain-rocking 34-6 win over the Jets. And not a star-studded season for the Cowboys, and that could have implications on the rest of their season. We got Dak Prescott out with a hamstring, and looking towards the rest of the season, their backup quarterbacks are going to have to show their worth. And looking to next season, it's looking like a couple of their players who could be on free agency may not be coming back to America's football team. Let's break down the latest injuries now and see who's headed for the sidelines and who's facing a long road back. Go! Road Rod. Getting straight into the new injuries of the week, we got Tank Bigsby, running back for the Jags with an ankle injury, and we do also have Miles Sanders, running back for the Panthers, also with an ankle injury. Doc, when you're looking at ankle injuries, specifically from a running back standpoint, is there a mental aspect to coming back as well as that PT aspect?
No question. I think there is, but these guys go through a lot. The running backs get banged up. They're the most banged up position in the entire NFL. But when you're getting to the ankle, it's so important because of the cutting, the lateral translation that you need. And whether it's a lateral ankle sprain or the outside, or this high ankle sprain, which also includes elements of the syndesmosis, maybe even the medial side or even out posterior, there's a whole circle that's really important around this ankle joint to make it stable. And when you feel stable, you do better. So there's a mental component to get through that. Number one, you got to feel stable. And then number two is mentally, you got to excel and know that ankle's stable. And you sort of know when it's time to head back.
Players of this caliber know their bodies, they know their minds, and with a great staff, they'll know what it takes to get back. Tyler, looking at George Kittle, give us a little bit on him.
Yeah, J-Rock. So George Kittle has some hamstring irritation. Why is this a big deal? Well, he dealt with the hamstring injury earlier this season. We talk about these always on the show. If they are not fully healed or even if they are at the time of injury, they can come back and they can definitely cause some commotion. And that's what we have here. Kittle injured week 2, missed week 3, and now he's got it again. The 49ers are 5-4, and they are in need to keep winning in a tight NFC West division. Doc, you've seen these. If you have your star tight end with a re-aggravation of a hamstring injury, but you need to win some games going into week 11, what are you doing?
Yeah, he's already got it. And the rate of re-injury, the re-aggravation index, check it out at the predictors.com. There's a re-aggravation on the hamstring. It's unbelievable. And the problem is it's because the hamstring muscle tears and it just doesn't heal with complete muscle. It heals with fibrous tissue, fibrosis. And that's why you keep re-injuring these things. That's why it's a problem. That's why rest and getting this to heal is absolutely key. And then you take it easy when you're coming back because you don't want to tweak it. But the problem is they're between a rock and a hard place. San Francisco 49ers have to perform. They need Kittle. So they're going to have to do some load management and pick him for the best plays to get him through the rest of the season.
George Kittle, an absolute force for the 49ers. Injury prone, but that's not going to keep him out for the whole season. Let's get him back out there as soon as possible. Nate, I'm looking at Sam Laporta with a sprained AC joint. Give me a little bit on that.
Yeah, J-Rock, another great tight end. He suffered this injury against the Texans in the second half, and it looks like now he's day-to-day, and Dan Campbell mentioned that they are hopeful for his return this week, but they are playing the Jaguars, and so, this is basically best team versus worst team in the NFL. If I were the Lions, I would probably keep him out, keep him healthy, but Doc, would you agree, or would you let him get on the field if he's healthy?
I'd let him get on the field if he's healthy, see how it feels, see how the injections go for this thing, which we know can do well, but you can re-aggravate this and get a couple week setbacks. You got to be careful. They're not playing a great team, so it's a game time decision for if I was in this position. Work closely with the coaches, the head athletic trainer, the therapist, make sure we're making that exact right decision based on the risk ratio.
Thanks for that, Doc. Lions against the Jags. That's a lock. I want to talk about CeeDee Lamb. He also had an AC joint injury. He ended up playing against the Eagles this weekend. Doc, do you think that was a good decision?
Yes, he didn't do too bad. Dallas, not so good. So, who knows how he really would have done. Doesn't have Dak throwing to him. There's all kinds of other things going on. So, it's just hard to make an interpretation there. But I think he was ready to come back just based on time and what the injury he had.
Absolutely fantastic. And that's just going to get us into our next point. Dak Prescott, hamstring injury. Looks like he got confirmed through his analysis yesterday that he is going to go ahead and undergo surgery, effectively ending his season, more than likely the season for the Cowboys as well. Doc, how do you think Dak Prescott is going to come back? Do you think taking the surgery was the right move?
So there's hamstrings, J-Rock, and there's hamstrings. So this hamstring's different. Why? Like you hear about all these hamstrings, but none of them are repaired. So the ones that we fix surgically, and the vast majority that are fixed surgically, are ones where the hamstring tendon rips off the pelvis. Dak said he felt something different. It didn't feel right. He felt different pop. It wasn't, I'm sure he's been through some hamstring strains, tweaks before. Most players have. They know what it is. But this was different. And when that tendon tears off the pelvis, we generally fix it. You can watch it. You can do injections. You can do biologic. You can do PRP, platelet-rich plasma, bone marrow concentrate, all these things to try to get it to heal and do better. But if it's pulled off enough, you end up having a huge problem with the hamstring. You don't get your strength back. It continues to be a pain. You continue to keep re-injuring it. But this is a different hamstring than the mid-muscle belly, which we talk about all the time. This is a pretty unique injury in the NFL, to be honest, to need a true hamstring repair. It happens, but I think Dak's going to come back quite well. These do heal quite well. We use anchors, we use special sutures, super strong things to fix it right back to the pelvis. And I think he's going to do quite well when he comes back. But he's going to need about 5-6 months till he's ready to ramp up.
Thanks for that, Doc. I know Jerry Jones, based on the way that he was talking last week, he sees the future for the team. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel. So although I want to think that Jerry Jones is rolling around every single night thinking about this, I think he sees the positivity and coming out stronger after this hamstring injury. Tyler, looking at Aaron Jones, got a couple rib injuries. How's he looking? I heard he went to X-ray as well. How's that looking?
Yeah, Vikings fans definitely held their breath for a little bit there as Aaron Jones was carted to the X-ray machine in the game, but he came out after and said it was just logistical for the reason to be carted. It was across the field, and he didn't want to walk that far. So that is good news for Vikings fans. Following the game, he said he was good. Soreness is his main symptom. So we'll have to see how that goes this week. Head coach Kevin O'Connell said that he probably would be limited earlier in the week in practice, which we would assume coming out of a game like that with that injury. So I wouldn't take too much from the practice report if he's limited. They are optimistic that he'll be able to go this week. Follow it this week on the predictors.com and see how he recovers. But overall, definitely not as bad as originally thought on the field when he went down.
That's what we like to hear. It's definitely giving me Jaden Daniels vibes. He had that rim injury. He ended up getting x-rays mid-game. He came out all smiles. Then he came out himself and played absolutely fantastic the next game. So with that being said, we got Tristan Wirfs. Nate, give me a little bit on him.
Yeah, J-Rock. He suffered an MCL sprain against the 49ers, and this was confirmed by test today. Now, this is their fourth straight loss. He's kind of the anchor of that offensive line, but Todd Bowles, their head coach, said this is a low-grade sprain. So they do have a bye week this week, and so he has some time to recover. But if this is best-case scenario, grade 1 sprain, could you see him coming back after the bye week?
That's pretty early, even for a grade 1, but Tristan's an all-pro. I mean, the Bucs fans were holding their breath based on what was going on with his knee, because that one tackle, and if you have some cluster injuries on the offensive line, we've shown this, the predictors, it's a huge problem. So we want to be careful with him. Obviously, that's why linemen wear braces, to try to decrease the risk of MCL. It's never zero. There's always a risk of injuring that MCL. It's the most common knee injury we see on the line, but generally it's 3 to 6 weeks depending on grade of MCL. And there's 3 grades of MCL, 1, 2, 3. Lower grade, we may see him back 3 to 4 weeks. Now, if they really, obviously they're going to need him, but if they really, really, really need him, maybe a couple weeks, best case.
Let's head right into who we have returning this week, who may be coming back. We really want to see some players go hard. Let's jump right into the returners of the week. Go! Nate, I'm looking at TJ Hawkinson. Again, tore his ACL last Christmas Eve. Absolutely devastating. Not what you want for Christmas, but how's he playing?
Yeah, J-Rock, this is only his second game back, and he balled out. He led the team in receiving yards. Now, they did play the Jaguars, only beat them by 5 points, I think. And our predictors data shows that it usually takes a while to get back to such high productivity after an ACL injury, but I think TJ Hawkinson is just proving how good of a tight end he is.
TJ Hawkinson really stepping up and showing the Vikings that he still has it. Christian McCaffrey, Tyler, he went out to Germany. He did a little biologics. Did it play out for him on the pitch?
Yeah, man. Christian McCaffrey actually played well considering it was his first game back after being out for so long. Now, it wasn't the normal Christian McCaffrey we see. He's usually putting up at least a touchdown, usually more per game, and even more yards. But 13 carries, only 39 yards there, but 6 receptions for 68 yards out of the backfield there. So definitely put up some decent numbers. He said if he's on the field, he's full go, never limited.
Mr. Unlimited. Yeah, you got to be unlimited. You got to have a thought process of being unlimited.
But you could see that the head coach and offensive coordinator were trying to do some things with that offense. So he did get some plays off. But overall, not terrible, but definitely has some work to do to get back to pre-injury levels.
Thanks for that, Tyler. Christian McCaffrey, he's got a long way to go, but he's come a long way too. Let's not forget about that. Looking at CeeDee Lamb, I know we already mentioned him today. He's not getting the ball from Dak Prescott. But Nate, did you see his play? And if you did, what did you think about it?
Yeah, J-Rock, obviously without Dak Prescott, he's not the same receiver with Cooper Rush behind center. And he could have had a game-winning touchdown, but the sun was in his way. So thanks a lot, Jerry. Good stadium designs.
Not what CeeDee Lamb needed. A little too much sun in his eyes. That's actually exactly what they were saying at the Baltimore Ravens game a couple of weeks ago. They were dropping passes. Things were hitting him in the chest. They're just blaming that big ball of fire in the sky. Honestly, let's get visors up. Let's get visors up, ladies and gentlemen. Looking at a couple more projected week 11 returners. We got Nico Collins. I know they are missing him. He's coming back off that hamstring. Tyler, what do you think about him?
Yeah, well, he missed 5 games, J-Rock, which is, pretty long for a hamstring, actually. Came off IR. We thought he might play last week. They made him inactive. So the good thing is, according to our data at the Predictors, is that wide receivers who miss 5 games actually allows them to come back closer to pre-injury levels in reception yards and other stats like that. So it might be beneficial to them keeping him out, not rushing him back. Hopefully, Doc talked about it earlier. Hopefully he's fully healed and doesn't have a re-aggravation like George Kittle has right now. So ultimately, I think it was probably the right decision for them and now get him back full go and start making your playoff run.
Absolutely fantastic. I know Nico Collins was chomping at the bit to get back into that game against the Lions. 5 interceptions from Jared Goff. I know he wanted to be on the other side of that offense as well. Looking towards the week here, we're going to look at those banged up scores. Let's hit the bus stop. Go! All right, welcome to the bus stop where the saying is trust the bus. Tyler, looking at the bust up scores this week, is there anything stand out, anything you want to mention to the people specifically?
Well, J-Rock, this great games on the schedule this week. Some in-division rivals go head-to-head. Eagles and Commanders, Ravens and Steelers, Packers and Bears. And what I love about the bus is when teams are equal in talent or they are in division because they know each other so well, health plays an even more important role. So it's going to be important to look at those health scores this week to see who has that health advantage and if they can use that competitive advantage to win their game. Also, of course, we have the Chiefs versus the Bills this week, a huge game considering both teams are playing well. And right now, if you look at the pre-official bus, because the injury reports don't come out until Friday, the Buffalo Bills are at an 80.5 and the Kansas City Chiefs are at an 80.6, almost identical in the bus, which means it could be a very, very close game. But with that said, when the official bus reports come out, make sure you look at those because if there's some separation there, it could give you the winner to that game.
That separation is going to be everything. Pay attention to that data. Trust the bus. Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us for another wild ride here at Health Matters, the Predictors podcast. We've dissected the chaos of Week 10, and now we're locked and loaded for the adrenaline that is Week 11. The action never stops, and neither do we. So buckle up, folks. We got the return of DK Metcalf upon us. Dak Prescott is out for the season. Love my dad with all my heart. As a Cowboys fan himself, I got to say sorry, Dad. It's not looking too hot for you guys. George Kittle is day-to-day. That's just another wide receiver off that 49ers lineup. Hopefully, health can matter, and we can get him back into the run as soon as possible. Make sure to join us next week for even more expert insights, bold predictions, and all-around elite vibes. Until then, stay locked in. We hope every parlay that you make this weekend hits, and may your fantasy squads dominate. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at @thepredictors_, and check out our website for everything NFL. Every week brings a new chance to level up and trust the bus, and we'll catch you guys next week. Go!